I want to start this video off by saying this is not meant to call out casual players. But what I have noticed as my channel has gotten bigger is that the more subscribers that I gain, the more likely they are to be casual players. There's only so many competitive or semi-competitive players watching YouTube content. So once you hit a certain point, probably around 10K subscribers, you start drawing in a more casual crowd, which means that I should start explaining my card choices a little bit differently than I have in the past. The biggest culprit is going to be Brilliant Fusion. Now, I'm probably for two reasons. First of all, I think a lot of casual players don't see why it's so good. But more importantly, I post it in like every other video, so I'm more likely to see these questions. This is a question that I've seen posted so many times at this point that I felt like I had to make just an official response to it. Once again, not to call out someone for not understanding why people play Brilliant Fusion instead of Double Summon, but mainly just to explain why that's happening. Now, I do want to say that I can see their side of view when you think that Double Summon is better than Brilliant Fusion, especially if you haven't really played competitively. On paper, Double Summon doesn't require you to play a Garnet. It can be used, you can use all three copies if you choose to play three. It's not like Brilliant Fusion, where usually you're only playing the first copy and maybe the second copy. And it can't be stopped by MST or anything like that. So I can see how, if you're only looking at the extra normal summon aspect, Double Summon next to Gem Knight Seraphonite or Brilliant Fusion, and by extension Gem Knight Seraphonite, the obvious winner there would actually be Double Summon. If you're only looking at the actual second normal summon, just because Double Summon can't be stopped by so much. And here's the deal. There's a reason that in all the time Double Summon has been played, it really hasn't been ran in any competitive decks. Now this is subject to change. I know that the Magic Bullets, or whatever those are called, in the OCG right now play Double Summon. I know that some Spiral lists play Double Summon. But overall, Double Summon has been out since Tactical Evolution, and it really hasn't seen any success, mainly because it is a -1. Now, card advantage is something that, while it doesn't account for everything, it definitely accounts for some things. Double Summon is just a straight -1. You start with one card, and after you resolve it, you end with negative, or you end with no cards. So then you're down a card. If you go first, open 5 cards, activate Double Summon, instantly you're down to 4 cards. And even though the effects of the cards you're normal summoning twice might recuperate that loss, there's a loss to be recuperated in the first place that you have to consider. Where with Brilliant Fusion, if you just activate Brilliant Fusion for Gem Knight Seraphonite, it is a +1. Now, some people might argue it's not a +1, but if we just look at non-theoretical card advantage, because I'm not looking at like the fact that Brilliant Fusion itself doesn't do anything when it's on the field. You start with Brilliant Fusion and you end with Brilliant Fusion and Gem Knight Seraphonite. So just on paper, that's a +1, Double Summon's a -1. But the big deal here is that Double Summon is only ever going to do one thing for you. It is only ever going to give you a second normal summon. And what do I mean by that? I mean that even though there are some decks that can generate spell counters, or maybe some decks like the Magic Bullet deck that actually gains effects if you activate spells in their column, overall, every time you're activating Double Summon, you know exactly what it's going to do. It's going to do the same thing for every single deck, and that's just give you that second normal summon. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but Doug, isn't that what Brilliant Fusion does? Well, no, because the huge difference between these two cards is that Brilliant Fusion is not just a second normal summon. It sends a light monster to the graveyard. And that might not seem that important, but it's actually incredibly valuable. Just to go over some of the main light monsters you can summon this card, the biggest and the most versatile, it would be Trick Clown. Performage Trick Clown has been seen in a variety of Brilliant Fusion lists, especially when the Performage engine was at full power and you had Damage Juggler as well. But Trick Clown is very common, and that then turns your one Brilliant Fusion into a +2, because you go from one copy of Brilliant Fusion to the copy of Brilliant Fusion, Gem Knight Seraphonite, and Trick Clown. Now that's a lot of advantage off of one card. even if you aren't considering like the extra effects from the extra normal summons, that's still pretty good. A +2 is definitely something to look at. Fairy Tale Snow is also very popular, especially considering almost all of the Lightsworn decks and Lightsworn zombie decks play Brilliant Fusion. You can see why. It's not only to send cards like Trick Clown and maybe Wolf, Lightsworn Beast, but it's also to send Fairy Tale Snow, which is probably the most crucial card to that deck's success. It gets it right into the graveyard. So it's really just like an extra copy of Foolish Burial, except you have 3 of it. So it's really 3 extra copies of Foolish Burial that also has a bonus effect. But then there's even some like fringe uses. I won't list them all, but the main one that's like sort of not along those lines, because Trick Clown, Fairy Tale Snow, and Wolf are all just level 4 monsters that bring themselves out. Sort of the same deal, even though they're slightly different. But I've used Brilliant Fusion in Fluffles to send Fluffle Wing to the graveyard, which then instantly sets you up for even more advantage. I mean, heck, if you open up Fluffle Dog and Brilliant Fusion, it's a +5, I think, because you get the dog search for bear gets to toy vendor, and then you Brilliant Fusion send wings, and then use wing effect, banishing the bear, draw 2 more cards, search another card. There's a lot of advantage, and that's awesome. So it's really the Foolish Burial effect that's making the difference. And now when we look into Link summoning, the Seraphonite is actually incredibly important because it puts a level 5 Earth monster on the board. Now in the past, there hasn't been a ton of uses for that. The biggest one was probably synchro summoning with Unizombie to make Siphon Lord Omega or Stardust Dragon or something like that. Some people have also tried to make rank 5s with it, especially in Monarch variants that had the Prime Monarch, which is a level 5 monster. But nowadays, a lot of times you just see the Seraphonite being used for a Link monster, and that's not even that bad. The big one here is going to be Missus Radiant, which, while I don't necessarily believe that it's the best Link monster anymore, I did praise for months that it was the best Link monster, and I truly believed that at the time, just because there wasn't a lot of other competition. But even now, Missus Radiant is still a solid card, and Gemknight Seraphonite meets 1/2 of the requirements to summon that, and it only really gets better with time. Now, I know some people commented like, oh, well, it locks you out of the extra deck zone, but it really doesn't lock you out of it, because it just opens up a Link monster. I mean, heck, even just the 1 Brilliant Fusion can get you to Seraphonite, and then if you summon the Trick Clown, then you have a Link 2 monster. That's pretty good. Add in any normal summon to that, which I'm assuming you have, and then you have a Link 3. Add the second normal summon, you have Link 4. It just goes on and on. It's really good. But also, Brilliant Fusion can actually be used with the Gemknight that it sends to have some added utility. The big thing here, I know I keep saying that, but Gemknight Lazuli is incredibly powerful. Most people are going to use Gemknight Garnet. I personally usually use Gemknight Garnet because it has the most attack. Just in case you do draw it, you want it to have some attack points. But Gemknight Lazuli is really cool because when it's sent to the graveyard with Brilliant Fusion, you get to add a normal monster from your graveyard to your hand. We've seen this happen twice in the highest levels of competition. The biggest one was Jack's Knight or Dark Witch, which were used in the Monarch variant of, or the Brilliant Fusion variant of Monarchs. Because if you open Brilliant Fusion and Return of the Monarchs, you could start all of your plays up when you normally wouldn't be able to. But the other one that I was thinking of that I've seen in a lot of crazy combo videos is that there's actually Galaxy Serpent. Now, Galaxy Serpent is a level 2 light dragon tuner, and what that means is that anytime you open Brilliant Fusion, you can instantly make a level 7 synchro, because you summon the Seraphonite, you send the Serpent, you send Lazuli, Lazuli adds the Serpent back to your hand, and then you use your extra normal summon to summon the Galaxy Serpent. From there, you can make a slew of level 7 synchros. The most popular choices are going to be Yazi of the Yang Zing, Black Rose Dragon, and Ancient Fairy Dragon, and I've seen plenty of combo videos made with those cards, specifically off of that play. And the best part about that is that then you can use your regular normal summon after you do those effects and bait out your opponent's cards. That's specifically important when you do Black Rose Dragon, because that actually blows up the whole field. And that's another ruling question that maybe not everyone knew, but I assume most people do, is that you can take your Seraphonite normal summon first. You don't have to do your initial normal summon, so that if you want to use the Seraphonite itself for like an Exceed material or a Link material, you can still get 2 normal summons in one turn. So what have we learned from this? Well, we've learned a couple things. First of all, card advantage is important, although not the only thing that's important, but it is relatively important. And when you have a card that can do so many different things, it's going to almost always be strictly better than the version of that same effect that can do less things. If you just look at the cards by themselves, Brilliant Fusion has seemingly infinite possibilities, and this is coming from someone that has played it in a variety of decks that maybe it didn't even need to go into, but actually ended up being very good in, where Double Summon is always just going to be that -1 to give you an extra normal summon, and that's usually not good enough. It's putting too much pressure on opening specific hands. I mean, especially if your deck doesn't have a Stratos monster that can search itself. For Double Summon to be useful, you have to open Double Summon and 2 normal summonable monsters. There are plenty of times where Brilliant Fusion only requires you to have just itself or itself and one other card. A great example is in Light Sworns. As long as you open Brilliant Fusion and any level 4 monster, you can then make some Link monsters, you can make a Minerva, you can make an Omega, you can do a whole bunch of stuff as long as you just open one other monster, where the Double Summon is requiring you to have 3 out of your 5 card opening, 3 of them have to be very specific cards, and it's just not nearly as consistent, not nearly as versatile, and not nearly as powerful. I know there will still be naysayers in the comment section because I know you guys for the most part, and I still do realize that there are going to be people that literally think Double Summon is better than Brilliant Fusion, and while I respectfully disagree, I hope that you can watch this video, maybe learn something, and maybe, just maybe, I can change your mind. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this discussion. I will see you later. Bye.